Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Lawpath webinar. My name is Ryan Tan, and we're going to be going through some recent legal changes to watch out for. We have our resident in-house lawyer, Sam, who does a lot of work with our clients, and he's going to be going through a number of regulatory changes that have happened over the last few months, things that you should definitely be aware of as a business owner to stay on top of your compliance. So whether you're starting a new business, or you're looking just to again get your policies and your compliance up to date, this is the webinar to watch in this new financial year. So just as everyone's pouring in, please put in the chat, let us know what your name is and where you're based in, and also what industry you're from. We typically have people from all different industries, service professionals like accountants and lawyers come along, but also people from different industries like entertainment, and all kinds of different verticals as well. So again, let us know where you're based. And again, I'm going to send out a poll now. Just fill this one in. We want to understand a little bit of information again about, what's your business's biggest focus for this year? What industry are you in? And this information helps us customize the webinar towards the back end when we do answer the Q&A as well. So I've just popped open that poll. Just take a moment to answer the 5 questions that we have there as well. Now, if you do have any questions from today's webinar, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box. There is a separate Q&A button that you can click aside from the chat. Sometimes questions can get lost within the chat itself. So I'll just wait a moment for everyone to pour in. Thank you for everyone filling out this poll. And again, any Q&A, pop them within that box today. And again, do stick around for all webinar attendees and everyone here today. There will be an exclusive webinar offer for joining, especially if you want to stay on top of your compliance. So again, stick towards that. And then towards the very end, we'll be doing a Q&A or an Ask Me Anything with Sam. So if you have any legal questions around compliance, superannuation changes, employment, again, stick to the end for the ability and opportunity to answer those questions. Perfect. Thank you, Jamie. It's great to have you on board. And Eliza, thank you. Okay, so if the chat is disabled, please key in all your questions through the Q&A. We can still see them as well. And again, we'll be able to answer all your questions that you've got. Fantastic. Well, let's get started on today's agenda. So what we're going to be looking forward to in this webinar today is we're going to be going through a bit about Lawpath and what we do and how we can help your business. I'm going to be introducing Sam. Sam will be going through a lot of the legal and regulatory changes that have arisen, and again, how they impact your business, but more importantly, how you can stay compliant. And again, make sure you're on top of your legals as we move into this new year. There will be some overlap with accounting. So again, definitely stick towards the end to hear about these changes. And again, most importantly, Sam will be giving practical and actionable advice on how you can stay on top of the changes. As always, we'll have a product demonstration further on in the webinar and some of the features that we have at Lawpath. And again, how we can help you stay on top of your legals and accounting. And then we'll have a Q&A time at the end. So if you have any specific questions that pop up during the presentation, do pop them in the Q&A box. We will get to them towards the end, and Sam will be going through those ones. So I just wanted to go through a bit about Lawpath and who we are. So what we do at Lawpath is that we make legals accessible for small businesses and businesses of all sizes. So again, smart, simple legal for businesses. And we do this through allowing our customers to create legal documents, to manage their compliance, and connect with lawyers on demand in one single platform. So again, we have a documents library. We have on-demand legal and accounting advice, which is very fantastic, again, to get some clarification on the documents, some legal changes. And again, if you need any clarification about updating contracts or doing contract reviews, we've got those as well. So as you can see, we've got more than a few thousand 5-star reviews, or more than 10,000 on Trustpilot itself. We've saved over $100 million in legal fees so far, and that's continually growing. We've assisted over 300,000 Australian businesses, and again, the 10,000 five-star reviews. So we're on this mission to make legals and accounting more accessible for the small business. Now, in terms of the actual services that we offer and how Lawpath can help, we do offer contract management for your business. So whether you need any legal document templates in a range of areas from employment agreements to business registration documents, intellectual property documents, and the like, we have 350 plus legal documents on the platform that are able to be edited by you. And again, you can customize them to meet the needs of your business. So again, they're all customizable and they're living and breathing dynamic documents that will change based on the different questions you answer in each document. Again, it makes it more customizable and relevant to your specific business. Now, we also have personalized workflows, which are, again, basically, if you're looking to hire an employee or fire an employee, set up a family trust and the like, we've got around 8 workflows now. So they cover different activities and they will walk you through all the legal and the non-legal steps for what you're looking to do. So again, it's kind of the bridge between, say, having the documents library and then speaking to a lawyer. If you want questions or you need any help regarding the process involved with a range of these factors, such as even hiring a contractor, which is a brand new workflow we've introduced. The workflows are phenomenal and they do provide direct links to the documents that you're after. But again, they do provide a lot of non-legal steps and processes. So if you're in need of templates or free ebooks or resources to help you out with what you're looking to do, then that's where the workflows come in very handy. And then lastly, booking in legal consultations. So if you're in need of legal advice, perhaps you've taken a template from us and it's asked some questions about a probationary period or the award rate or some entitlements, and you're not exactly sure of which award your employees might fall under, or again, whether to hire a contractor or an employee in staying compliant, this is where you can book in our legal consultations and speak with our great lawyers like Sam and also Damon, as well as a bunch of other lawyers we have on the platform, and they can provide legal advice on demand. So you can simply book in a legal consultation at a time that suits you and go through your legal matter, but we also do contract reviews as well. So you can get 4 pages of any contract reviewed within a business and commercial sense through these legal consultations. So that's how we can help your small business. Now, I want to introduce Sam. Sam is one of the main lawyers on our legal advice plan. And for a lot of people on today's webinar, you're on the legal advice plan, you've probably spoken to Sam. You might have spoken to some of our other lawyers on the platform, but Sam is fantastic. He has over 8 years experience in an array of different legal areas, and he's a top-rated lawyer on our platform. So he's have a number of 5-star rated reviews. But as you can see, he's our top employment lawyer, he's our top startup lawyer, and our top commercial lawyer. So again, I'll pass it over to Sam. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them towards the end of the presentation. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for that, Ryan. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. So my name is Sam Hahn. I'm one of the lawyers here at Lawpath. As Ryan has mentioned, I've had about more than 8 years of experience as a lawyer, most of it in the commercial background. And at Lawpath, I assist our clients with giving telephone advice to them around about a variety of different legal issues, as well as handling legal matters for them, especially around commercial contracts, employment, and consumer law. So we'll get on with the substantive part of today's webinar. So the first set of changes is to do with director identification numbers. Now, this is not exactly a new change to the law. This DIN regime has been in place since last year, but it's a good idea to recap what your obligations are as a company director. So if you are going to be appointed as a new director in a company, you're required to have a director ID number before you're appointed. If you're an existing company director, then you need to have a director identification number before November 2022. Now, why has this regime been put in place? The main reason is to stop companies from doing what's called illegal phoenixing. So it's where a company is laden with debt and the directors decide to either abandon the company or liquidate it and then create a new company to carry on the same business. But of course, the new company won't have the debt of the old company. The effect of illegal phoenixing is that employees get ripped off. They don't get paid. Subcontractors don't get paid, and it gives the phoenixing company an unfair competitive advantage because they get away with quoting less for jobs and for their services. So the ATO and ASIC has brought about this director ID number regime to try and track directors who are carrying out illegal phoenixing activity and of course to try and prevent that from happening. So a director identification number is obtained once for each director. The director keeps that director ID number for the rest of their life. You are not allowed to register for more than one director ID number. It's actually an offence to do so. The penalty for not complying with the director ID number regime can be quite significant. The maximum penalties, depending on the offence, range from $13,200 to $1.1 million. Some of the offences you can actually be charged and convicted and be sent to prison for, so potentially. Now, from a okay, so sorry, I forgot to change the slide. So just take note of the timelines here. Existing directors, you've got until 30th of November to apply for a director ID number. New appointments, you're required to have a director ID number before actually being appointed. So how do you apply? You do it through the Australian Business Registration Service, abrs.gov.au. You need to set up a MyGov ID app on your mobile phone before you do that. Not to be confused with the MyGov app, which is for accessing government services. The MyGov ID app is for identity verification. Yeah, you basically just follow the process on the website to get your director ID number. All right, and then now we move on to minimum wages and awards. So the Fair Work Commission regularly reviews the minimum wage as well as provisions of the various employment awards. This year has been no exception. So as of the 1st of July 2022, the national minimum wage has increased to $812.60 per week, or $21.38 per hour. And the new rates kick in for the first full pay cycle that starts on or after July the 1st. So if you've got a pay cycle that started before 1st of July and it crosses over to a period after the 1st of July, then the new rates don't apply to that pay cycle, but it will start to apply for the first pay cycle after the 1st of July. Okay, so why should you care? This is an interesting case study. $355,000 in penalties for a Brisbane sushi restaurant. This figure is actually broken down into two parts. So $305,000 for the company and $50,000 for the director. Contrary to popular belief, directors can be held personally liable for a variety of different debts and wrongdoings of their company, and failure to comply with employment laws is one of those grounds. And so the sole director in this case, was levied with a $50,000 fine for failing to comply with employment laws. This case is a bit extreme. There's about 34 employees were underpaid, and they actually produced falsified records to the Fair Work Ombudsman in an attempt to try and mislead them. So that just made things worse. Look, one of the takeaways from this case is the fact that the company didn't keep adequate records of their employees and payroll. So they tried to fake these documents and provide them to the Fair Work Ombudsman, and the Ombudsman was wise to that and detected it. Very important when you're carrying out a business and you have employees to maintain accurate records of employment, such as rosters, timesheets, pay slips as well. The onus is on the employer to maintain these documents. It's not on the employee. So just make sure you get that covered. All right, so out of interest, how many of you know what award applies to your business and to your employees? You can type yes if you're confident that you know. You can type in no if you're not. allow a little bit of time for feedback on that. It looks like a lot of the attendees today are well across their award. Yeah, it's really good. Good to see that everybody knows. So with awards, they can apply based on the business's industry, what industry the business is operating in, as well as the occupation of the individual employee. So a business might actually be covered by multiple, or a business can have employees under multiple awards. And an employee may also have multiple awards applicable to them, depending on what type of business they are working for. So each modern award has a section for coverage, defining the coverage of the award, as well as classification for the employees. So you need to refer to those sections to find out whether that award applies to your business and to your specific employees. Sorry. Okay. So as with the increase in the minimum wage, the minimum rates under the awards have also increased as well, and by different amounts and different awards. Just so make sure you check your relevant award to find out what the new minimums are. If you've got contracts where you're paying your employees an annualized wage, taking into account things like penalty rates and overtime and so on, just make sure that you've got enough of a buffer between your annualized salary and what the new minimums are, because you might find that with the increase in the rates, you actually need to up the annualized salary. I might just also, just with the awards as well, just note that if your employee is not covered under any existing award, there is an award called the Miscellaneous Award, which covers employees who are not covered under any other award and who are not working in a management role or a traditional profession like a lawyer or a doctor, engineer, and so on. And the coverage of the Miscellaneous Award is quite broad. So check that award out if you think that your employees are not covered under any other award. And another fairly significant change to awards is the Social, Community, Home Care and Disability Support Services Award. There's been some other changes there's been some changes to the award other than just the pay rates. So minimum pay per shift has increased from 1 to 2 hours for casuals and up to 3 hours for part-time employees, depending on exactly what type of work they do. And there's allowances for shift breaks and so on. So check that award if you're in the aged care or community services or disability support sector. Now, most of these awards, their changes will start on have already started, sorry, on the 1st of July. There are some awards where the changes don't take effect until the 1st of October. So some pretty common awards that fall under that time frame: the Hospitality Industry General Award, Restaurant Industry Award, Registered and Licensed Clubs Award, as well as other awards for tourism, aviation, etc. Right. Now, there's also been a change to superannuation as well. The rate has increased from 10% to 10.5%, and it'll continue to increase by an increment of 0.5% per financial year until it hits 12%. And that's set to occur in the 2025 to 2026 financial year. So just bear that in mind. At the end of every financial year, you need to increase your superannuation rate by 0.5% until you hit 12. And there's also been a removal of a threshold from which an employee is entitled to be paid super. So previously, an employee would have to earn $450 a month or more to be paid superannuation. That threshold is no longer there, so you have to pay your employees super regardless of how much they earn. This is particularly relevant if you've got casual employees that you've been engaging on a sporadic basis, and they might not have qualified for super, but now they probably will. Also, bear in mind that for company directors, superannuation liability can be your own personal liability. So just be aware of that. Now, employee share schemes. Right, so some of our viewers might not be familiar with what employee share schemes are, they basically act as an incentive for employees to stay with a company. So the company offers an employee shares or options to buy shares. When the company reaches a particular stage of maturity and a buyout occurs, so a larger company buys out the company, or the company is floated on the stock exchange, the idea is that the employee who has these options or shares can get a windfall. So it acts as an incentive. And under the Corporations Act and under our tax laws, there's been some allowance to try and encourage startup companies to offer shares and options to their employees to try and make it easier for them to do so, compared to issuing shares or options normally to a third party. Now, this is a pretty technical area, so I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. You do need to consult an accountant or a specialist tax advisor if you're thinking about setting up an employee share option scheme or an employee share scheme. Broadly speaking, there's been two sets of changes. One is to do with the disclosure obligations of the company when making a share or option offer to an employee. And the other set of changes is to do with the tax deferral point. So currently, an employee will be liable to pay tax on the discount that they get on the shares or options if they leave the business. So when they cease to be an employee, then they have to pay tax on the options and shares that were offered to them. And this has been criticized because it leaves employees, it can cause employees to have to pay tax when they haven't actually gained any benefit from these shares or options. Now, the date when the employee ceases employment is no longer a taxing point. And so now, if an employee quits their job after the 1st of July, then they no longer have to declare tax on that event, and tax will then be payable when the employee no longer has any impediment in exercising their option or in selling their shares, or on a date that's 15 years after the date when the option or shares were granted. The other change is to do with disclosure obligations. So under the corporations law, if a company is issuing shares or interests in the company, then they have to make certain financial disclosures. So that would include things like valuations, projections about financial performance, et cetera, et cetera. And the disclosure regime is quite stringent and very onerous. So under the Corporations Act, there's been some exemptions to allow for certain offers to not be required to have a disclosure or have simplified disclosure, and those exemptions have now been broadened. So more companies can have access to the simplified disclosure obligations when issuing share option or share offers. And finally, COVID-19. We've all been subject to a lot of changes because of COVID in the last few years. Now we've entered an era where things are a lot more stable and there's a lot more freedom in what people can do. So I'm not going to read through the slide, but basically close contact rules depend on the policy of the business. Masks are still required in some places, but again, it's up to the business whether they want to set policies around masking, checking of vaccinations, and so on. I'll just make a general comment here that under workplace health and safety legislation, any entity that carries on a business has a requirement to implement to provide a safe workplace and implement policies around health and safety, in accordance with the risk profile of that business. So in the context of COVID-19 or any kind of infectious disease, if you're say a medical clinic, then the risk for your business will be significantly higher than, for example, if you're in an accounting office. So you need to carry out a reasonable, rational risk assessment and implement health and safety policies accordingly. And these COVID rules, they are set by state and territory authorities. So check the rules in your state and territory and just keep yourself updated. And also check federal government guidelines as well. All right, so just a quick summary of the changes. Director identification numbers. If you're going to be a new director, you need to have your director ID number before you're appointed. If you're an existing director, get your director ID number by November 2022. Minimum wages have increased. Awards have been revised. So check the awards that apply to your business. Make sure that you're paying your employees and giving them proper entitlements. Superannuation's gone from 10% to 10.5%, and the $450 threshold no longer applies. Share option scheme changes, broader exemptions to disclosure requirements, and there's changes to the deferred taxing point. And of course, we just talked about COVID-19. If you've got any questions about any of these topics, feel free to put them in the chat, and we could address them at the Q&A session after Ryan finishes speaking. And I'll just hand you over to Ryan.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sam. That was fantastic to hear about all those legal changes that we can use to stay compliant. So I just wanted to come in and just briefly introduce how Lawpath can help. Sam talked about a number of different compliance changes, things like your direct identification number and whatnot. So this is where we come in to help. We found recently from a survey that 80% of individuals and 87% of small to medium businesses find it difficult to access the legal services that they need. They said things like it takes a long time, it's expensive, and it can be complicated as well. There's a general perception that legals are quite inaccessible, or that you have to be at a certain milestone, revenue target, or employee amount. And it kind of plays with people's perceptions a bit. So I guess that's where we come in, and our mission is to make legals and accounting more accessible to the average small business. So that's where we come in with a range of our plans, as you can see here. Now, about half of the people on this webinar today and the attendees, you're already customers with us on one of these plans. So again, starts off with our essentials plan, as you can see here. Again, that's just unlimited access to the documents. There's 350 different templates available. So anything from, say, company registration documents to trust documents, intellectual property, is even wills and more personal documents on the platform. So it is extremely broad. Within the nature of human resources and employment, we have over 100 different documents there as well. So that's our essentials plan. Our legal advice plan, which you can see here in the middle. This one is basically the essentials plan, but in addition to that, you do get on-demand legal advice. So you do get access to unlimited 30-minute calls with our lawyers. So you can speak to Sam, you can speak to Damon. We've got a bunch of other lawyers on the platform who specialize in different areas of law. And it's great if you have any questions around the documents, or even simply around regulatory changes, such as getting your director number. If you have questions around superannuation or employee share schemes and vesting, it's always great. Like Sam said, it's extremely in-depth topics to get legal advice specific to your circumstances, to understand, again, what you're liable for and how you can be ahead of the curve and be proactive. So that's the legal advice plan. We do offer contract review up to 4 pages on most documents as well. If you have documents externally, contracts from a lawyer previously, we can also review those as well. And then lastly, with our legal and accounting advice plan here on the right, this one is everything that is in the essentials in the legal advice plan, but it does include our accounting advice as well. So we have an exclusive partnership with Pop Business, who are one of Australia's top chartered accounting firms. And again, we offer unlimited 30-minute calls with those chartered accountants for your business as well. So again, if you have any questions around, say, structuring your assets, your group structuring, anything to do with, say, paying yourself as a director through the business, GST queries, etc., this is a great plan to get some advice on. And the good thing is that the lawyers and the accountants do talk to each other on this plan, so you are able to get advice from both lawyers and accountants, and they do converse on the business, and this is quite a rare thing. Your accountant probably doesn't speak to your lawyer, therefore you have to go through your whole business again, and it just takes up more time. As part of the plan, we also offer ASIC and ATO agent service. So if you require company changes throughout the year, such as changes to, say, a registered address or some details within the ASIC register, our company's team can take care of that for you and make those changes on your behalf. So we've got an exclusive webinar offer for all participants today. What we're offering is for our on-demand legal advice. So we're offering it 20% off our legal advice plan. And this is great because, as you saw on the previous slide, it's $120 a month normally for customers, and they pay this in an annual installment. So that's $1,440 upfront. Previously, we have offered a monthly payment at $120, which is also payable monthly with an annual commitment. But what we're doing today is we've dropped the price to just $100 a month. So it would be a billed monthly amount with an annual commitment. So for just $100 today, you can get started. You can be speaking to Sam, Damon, and our excellent team of lawyers on the legal advice plan, getting some advice for your business. You also get access to the legal templates as well. So if you needed to refresh your documents, your policies, take advantage of any of the documents that we have in our library, you can have that as well. But secondly, look, if you just after say you've got a simple question, you don't really want a year plan, we're doing a 3-month trial to our legal advice and accounting plan. So again, this can be great if you have specific questions, say around employee share schemes, or you've got an intellectual property matter that you're dealing with right now. And again, you don't want it for the whole year at this moment. You don't want to commit long term, but you want to try a 3-month trial out. And the good news is that not only is it the legal advice, but you get the whole package. You get the accounting plan as well. So this plan normally goes for about $293. It's close to $300 a month, and it is a 12-month plan. So again, it can be somewhat onerous for new business owners. But again, you get access to a 3-month trial today for just $199 a month. So again, comment yes in the chat or just pop it in the Q&A box. So we've got your details on file, but just pop in yes if you'd like to take advantage of the offer. And a member of our team will be in touch with you after the webinar. Again, if you're an existing customer and you're on an old plan, or you've got essentials and you've just paid your renewal fee, you can still key in yes. One of our team will give you a call and we'll go through the credits you might have available in your account so you can access this plan and get some legal and accounting advice for your business. So if you need any assistance, again, we'll be giving all attendees today a call if we haven't spoken to you this week. I've got my email down the bottom, our company phone number and live chat, so you can key in your details. But again, the easiest way to get a call back from us is to just key in yes to the Q&A box or the chat. And again, one of our team will be in touch with you. So now we'll take some questions and answers. We'll put it back to Sam. So if you do have any questions, again, on anything around legal changes or compliance that Sam has discussed, please key it in again in that Q&A box. Just take a quick look here. So Kim has asked, is it possible to get a list of the documents that are in the library? This is a good question, Kim. So on our website, under the Essentials Plan Summary, we do have a comprehensive list of all the subsections that we cover, such as employment and HR. I think there might be a full list of documents as well, but it is pretty comprehensive. And again, our team has popped in a link to that where you can view it all. So it's awesome. So I'm going to pass it over to Sam now. He's going to go through some questions. And if you have any further questions, again, or require support, pop it in the Q&A box. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Brian. Let's see. Just go through the list of questions that's been put forward. My apologies if we don't get through all of the questions. Simply won't have time for that, unfortunately. Let's see. So Jamie has asked minimum wage for hospitality or across the board. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but and what takes precedent, national or state? If you could just clarify what you mean, I'll get back to those questions. Okay, do I need to offer my casual employees a part-time position? Oh, sorry. Do I need to offer my casual employees a part-time position if they've been with my business for longer than a year? It depends. So if they've been working a regular set of hours for the last 6 months of their employment, and you are not a small business, then yes, you do need to offer them a position. you do need to offer them conversion to part-time. However, if they haven't been working a regular set of hours, they can continue, or that you reasonably can see continuing without significant adjustment, or you're not a small business, then you do not have to proactively offer them conversion to part-time. Now, you're a small business if you have less than 15 employees. If you've got 15 or more, then you're not a small business. So you do need to be proactive about offering conversion. Otherwise, the employee can ask for conversion, and you do need to consider it seriously. But you're not required to proactively offer them the conversion. There's also another question. How long must a permanent part-time employee work in a business? I suppose you're talking about the number of hours. So a person can be considered to be a part-time employee if they're working less than 38 hours. So that's the basic rule. And each award has a range of ordinary working hours. So it might be something like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then you can have a set of hours, agreed set of hours within that time frame that would be considered ordinary number of hours. Any hours that are outside of the agreed ordinary number of hours, that they need to be paid overtime for that. Should I hire a contractor or casual employee to complete seasonal work for me? I don't need them on a full-time basis. Difficult question. I think this is something that requires a proper conversation, a consultation about. Look, so with casual employees, under some awards, there are minimum numbers of engagement. So if you're not comfortable with your rostering to give them those minimum number of hours of engagement, you might consider hiring them as a contractor. Having said that, you want to avoid a situation where you've supposedly engaged somebody as a contractor, but the terms of that engagement is actually reflects an employment arrangement. So there are a variety of different factors that come into play when deciding whether somebody's a contractor or an employee. Things like control, things like restraints on employment, level of supervision, how much micromanagement you can do, whether they're required to wear a uniform, whether they provide their own tools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a fairly extensive topic so if you need any help with that, just reach out to us and we can see if we can help you out via a proper consultation. Is there superannuation payable on directors' fees? Again, not a straightforward question. It really depends on how that's arranged. So generally speaking, if you are contracted to provide services for a company and you're paid on an hourly rate or a daily rate, and you can't delegate that work to somebody else, then that payment may be liable the company may be liable to pay a superannuation on top of that payment. But it really depends on the details of the engagement. Do shares need to be added to contracts? Jamie, you might want to just elaborate on what you mean by that. So I suppose you mean perhaps whether the share option scheme needs to form part of the contract. The simple answer to that is no. But reach out to us if you're interested in setting up an ESOP or a employee share scheme and want to know how to go about actually doing that. Do I need to provide my employer a clause in their contract to work from home, or can I refuse it based on my business's needs? So yes, I've seen some clients want to include a clause in their contract saying that their employee can work from home. If you want that to be a permanent arrangement, feel free to do that. But for most of our employer clients, they prefer to leave that up to workplace policies that they've set. And they can change that policies from time to time. So yeah, if you want more additional flexibility around that, it'd be best not to include that as part of the actual contract itself. And you might consider implementing a policy which the employees are required to adhere to. That way you have a bit more flexibility around how your employees can work. Okay, and that seems to be all of the questions so far. I might just pass this back on to Ryan.
Thank you so much, Sam. And thank you for everyone for asking questions and for your attendance at today's webinar. Again, if you do have any further questions that you want to get answered or whatnot, do pop them in the Q&A or do a last few minutes on the webinar. But again, if you do want to access the legal advice or even just get the 3-month trial or get the accounting advice, it could just be a simple matter you're dealing with right now. One question that you have and you don't want to go and spend thousands of dollars to engage someone with a quote, from another law firm. So again, the 3-month trial is great for that. And again, whatever matters you're dealing with in a business and commercial nature, we've got the team of lawyers who can help out. So again, just key in yes, if you're keen for this offer, we can give you a call. Or perhaps you just wanted to chat about your account and you had some queries, or you've been thinking about the accounting component of things and you're not sure. Just key in yes into the chat, and we'll be more than happy to have a discussion with you. So again, thank you for everyone for attending today's webinar. You can follow Lawpath on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, but also YouTube. We do publish a lot of these webinars that are recorded. So a lot of people will ask, do I get a copy of the recording? Your best bet is to just check the YouTube channel. They usually get uploaded within a day of the webinar, or a day or two. So again, there's plenty of useful resources, past webinars that we've held on direct obligations, trademarking and IP. There's plenty of resources on that platform as well. So again, it could be relevant to what you're looking for. But again, feel free to scan these QR codes or just follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And thank you again, and have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.